This was right after the 2008 recession. So I decided to start my own firm. And it was terrifying. So I
Hi there, Edye Edens, Darshan Kulkarni, and we are here today with the Kulkarni Law Firm and doing something a little off-brand for us, but really important. So I have the opportunity as the senior attorney to interview our principal, our founder, and our owner to talk a little bit about how did KLF come to be, right? A lot of us know about the recent transition, you taking myself on as a senior attorney. We've
been
been
amazing, by the
talking.
way.
I agree completely. And getting to know that we have a whole team behind the madness. But we really want to focus this particular podcast on just learning a little bit about beyond the degrees, beyond the schooling, what gave you the courage, the insight, or even just the blind courage, right? And might to come out and form the Kulkarni Law Firm. What was that like? What was the impetus for that?
This was right after the 2008 recession. I had worked as corporate counsel for a pharma company. I had worked at a CRO where I did contract negotiations. I had clerked for a federal court judge, and I knew that at some point I wanted to start my own law firm. And as I was doing that, there was never there was never going to be a good time to do it, given the fact that we were in the 2008, 2009, 2007 to 2009
Hmm.
financial crisis. So I decided to start my own firm. And it was terrifying. And that's when I remember my dad coming out and going, hey, it's not ever going to get easy. Do it now, or it's going to suck. It's been over 15 years at this point. I worked as a pharmacist for the first huge portion of the life of the firm. And then probably around 2017, I used to take a month to 2 months off and I'd backpack through a piece of the world. And so I was working as a pharmacist, working as a lawyer, and backpacking. And I was taking calls from like the base of Machu Picchu. And I was taking calls from Laos.
From the lake.
I never did the lake part. I was never that lucky.
I think Machu Picchu tops the lake.
I don't know. I got a call from my now former boss, and she reached out to me about LinkedIn. So those people who go wire people on LinkedIn, she reached out to me about LinkedIn, and she said, "Hey, talk to me a little bit more about what you're doing." And I went in and I spoke to her, and we had a couple of conversations back and forth. I'm very, and Edye knows this. I'm very, very like make it move, impatient, if you will. And so after like 2 or 3 calls, I was like, we're just wasting each other's time. She's like, no, I'm just gonna make you a job offer. It's like, wait, what? No, I'm not looking for a job. Because I thought I was in the firm, I was happy. I enjoyed what I was doing. She's like, you can keep the firm as long as there's no conflict. I was like, I can make sure there's no conflict. That's not a problem. So I became vice president of regulatory strategy and policy for a venture capital backed firm called Synchrogenics. It was the largest medical writing company in the world at that time. It is now publicly traded by Certara. It was privately owned, like I said. So I got to see firsthand the dynamics on how do you prep for board meetings and conversations and sort of vision. A year later, there was a crisis, and I transitioned out, and I became, so my firm was still there, had never stopped working. I then transitioned into having my own general counsel, chief compliance officer services for a startup out of the University of Pennsylvania, where I was general counsel, chief compliance officer, and I did a lot of that work.
I always wonder, as someone who's definitely joined small businesses and helped them scale, but not started outright my own, right? What that's like in year one versus year five versus year 10 versus 15 of, okay, in year one, you're like, wow, I filed the paperwork, this happened. In year five, you're like, holy crap, we're still alive. In year 10, is that when you start to go, well, there is a flow to this? Or was it maybe year 15 that you go, I think I know where we're going to go next? Or do you find there's just a constant, evolution, right? Like every 2 or 3 years, you're turning a different corner and headed a different way.
Enjoying our content? We'd love to hear more. Please like, comment, share, and find more.
I remember being in pharmacy school. And in pharmacy school, I was graduating. This is going back to 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And I was prepping for what do I want to do next? And I remember having an argument with my brother and with my dad, going med school or law school. What I discovered was, for me, and I wrote this out all those years ago, so over 20 something years ago, 25 years ago, all businesses, doesn't matter what business it is, runs off of three major legs: the technical aspects of the business, the legal aspects of the business, and the business aspects of the business. I had the technical down because of my PharmD. I had my legal down because of my JD. That's what I was walking into at that point. I'd actually come in from India, so we did financial accounting for 10th grade. So I was doing things like ledgers and journals and all that accounting stuff. I was doing it then. I also knew that my PharmD was more of a clinical doctorate. So I knew I was going to have to go get more of a life sciences based perspective. So I went back, got my master's in quality assurance regulatory affairs. So, you know, when you say that you don't know where you're going to go, I feel like I've been very intentional the whole time. I think there are several portions in both of our lives where we just sort of let life happen to us. I don't think the firm or my career aspirations were things that happened to me as much as I wanted them to happen. I was going to make them happen no matter what. For me, the other element is once I knew law was going to happen, the next question that I was battling with was, what then? So was I going to open up my own pharmaceutical company? Was I going to get into something else, a law firm? Because I had my dreams of working for big law. And to this day, I wonder if I should have. But my path was never going to go through big law. I was never going to be that person.
Find related podcasts below.
Well, you have plenty of the big law energy. For me, it would be the moment that big law is doing something because that's the way big law does something, as opposed to the most efficient or the best value for the client or the most use of your skill set or something like that. And I'm not bagging on big law. There's reasons that they stick to a systemized, standardized way and it works for them, and kudos. But the minute you couldn't pivot, and it literally didn't logically make sense not to pivot, then I just see smoke coming out of your ears and you running up and down the big law hallways going like, what is wrong with all of you?
Yeah, that's basically what it'd be.
And that's what I mean, like you, it has nothing to do with your acumen or your ability to rise with the rest of them. It has more to do with that. And I think that was how it was for me too. Was like, I'm not really good at being put in a particular template and told to just fill in color inside the lines. Shocking, I know.
I think it's hilarious because I think, look at how we're both dressed. Look at how we're both, like, where we are. This is not big law energy. We chose quality of life in a way that helps our clients. If you're looking for someone who's going to come in wearing your three-piece suit, been there, done that lots of times.
Yeah, and we can do that. You can pay us to do that. We'll show up. We'll be scary, but only if we have to.
Correct.
Only if you put Darshan on stage and call him Baba Yaga.
Been there, done that. Been there,
well,
done
thank
that.
you for sharing a little bit of the origin story. I always think it's really interesting for folks to connect and understand where you came from.
Thank you for having me. Call, click, or email